all of us are disciples. Not everybody's a teacher, but all is a disciple who can make a disciple. And we're trying to unleash something on the community that everybody can participate in.
And we don't need people that hit home runs. We just need people that get on base.
Welcome to the Real Life Overtime Podcast, the place where the members of the Real Life Ministries sermon team go deeper into the weekend sermon. Watch them as they unpack, unfold, and unravel the weekend sermon like never before. So fasten your seatbelts, hit play, and join us for Real Life Overtime, where every episode is an adventure and this sermon doesn't end on Sunday.
Hello, Real Life Ministries. Welcome to the Overtime Podcast. And we get to talk this weekend about our International Discipleship Team Weekend. And I'm here with Fred Bosse and Paul Burns, who are sort of our tag team in our Missions International Discipleship Team ministry. In this last year, Dave Campbell and Janelle have been overseeing this for several years and just played a huge part in the life of our church. And now they're actually leading in our Regen ministry, which is our recovery ministry. And you two have sort of moved in to take over the international ministry. So I'm excited to be here with you guys. It was a great missions weekend.
Yeah.
And we had pastors from all over the world. Unfortunately, because of what's going on in Africa with Ebola, most of our African pastors were not able to come this year. Couldn't get the visas to get over here. But we're still working with them. But we got to spend more time with our folks from other places. So it was a great weekend. Our volunteers who are coaching all year long, but you guys asked if there would be some people that would help house some of these missionaries, and I was told, I think this is right, so many people volunteered that you had way more people volunteering than we had need for people to stay at their houses.
We literally had 3 times as many people that we needed, and so it was great. It was great because then when things go, plans go awry, we had some backup as well. So it was really cool. A lot of generosity.
We have a generous church,
it was amazing.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
We talked about that we sort of have a plan where we have 28 pastors, I think, that we really work with in 17 countries. But then we help those folks in those 17 countries work with another, 45 other countries. So we're raising up people who are then raising up people on their own continents. And so it's like 45,000 churches, I think we're helping to work in one way or another with.
Yeah, indirectly, definitely.
And then we're also involved with some other large mission organizations, like we partner with Compassion International, Samaritan's Purse. Also, there's another one,
410 Bridge.
410 Bridge, great. Those people are amazing, where we're helping minister in a variety of different ways to help churches become disciple-making churches. Well, we did a little bit different this year. We had a little bit of preaching, panel discussion, but I got to go and hang out with them over there, the teams, and that was awesome. Paul, you got to get sort of highlighted this last year, your journey, both of your journey. You know what I enjoyed most about this is I know how much you hate being talked about in a positive light. And so it was a double win. First of all, I got to tell the truth. The story really happened. And I got to knowing full well that as I'm bragging about you, you are cringing. Oh, I loved it. It was amazing.
I'm glad you enjoyed that.
I was 2 birds with 1 stone. But both of you started out as volunteers here. And, started making disciples in small groups and then coaching small groups and then training. You've been training a part of the Relational Discipleship Network, training churches all around the world on small groups for a long time. And now you're both in Missions International Discipleship Team. And we've been all over the place, all over the world, from Asia to South America to India to Africa, everywhere.
Australia,
Australia, And so, we have some folks that are missionaries in different places around the world that came from our church as well. And so it's been quite a journey what God has done here, and our philosophy is a little bit different. Why don't you share sort of our missions philosophy, who we work with, why we work with them?
Yeah.
Fred, why don't you share a little bit about that?
Sure. You know, we know that people are given a church box, right? That this is how they've been told to do church, whether it was through missionaries that planted churches in Africa or South America or wherever years ago. But they have, you know, a set way of doing things that's just been handed down to them. It's no different than us here in the United States. So we go and we explain to them, this is how Jesus made disciples. It's not our, you know, it's not anything you invented, right? It's something that you observed and other people observed that, like, we want to, yes, follow Jesus's words. His words are divine, but also he said everything he does, he only does what the Father shows him to do, right? And so his methods are divine. And so we want to make disciples like Jesus made disciples. And so with that idea, we call it biblical relational discipleship. Jesus made disciples in relationship with the 12, with the 3, even with the masses, he was just engaging relationally. And so we present that to people as we have opportunity around the world. And when we will inevitably have somebody that will be interested in that and want to know more, and they get hungry. And so we help them to start living that out themselves, because you have to be a disciple before you can make a disciple. And so we're really big on that. And when we see a pastor that is willing to live this out and wanting to grow, we'll come alongside them for a time and help them and to see, are they really going to live it out? And if that's the case, then we have volunteers here that are seasoned life group leaders that want to do a little bit more. And so we'll introduce them, and then they will come alongside that pastor and his wife, and they will walk alongside them, not to teach them how to be a pastor, not to teach them how to do their sermon, but to...
Or how to run a Sunday morning service.
Yeah, not at all.
They know how to do that.
These guys are like, I'm not going to tell you how to do that, but I will tell you how to be transparent with the people in your group, and how to allow people to speak into your life, and how to be intentional about creating relational environments, and how to facilitate a relational conversation within a group, and just to start living it out in a practical way, and answering all the questions, and then helping them also just to be their friend and come alongside relationally. They understand what's going on with their family and their wives and kids and stuff. And so, so that's what our international coaches do here. And it's pretty amazing.
That's sort of where you started. I mean, you came on as a volunteer, and we partnered you with a pastor named Ronald in Uganda.
Yeah.
And, Ronald could preach. He'd led churches. He'd learned the American style of church on Sundays. And so we went over and did some training, and then you became his coach and his friend. And he would say this, Ronald would say, you might be his best friend.
Yeah.
You talked to him every week, and you knew how to make disciples from being here. So you started helping him know what to do in the small groups there.
Yeah. When him and I were first talking, I was amazed because they have so many baptisms, in a year, anywhere from probably 200 to 500 baptisms a year. Yet the number of their church doesn't grow.
Right.
And so just out of curiosity, asking him, like, how do you disciple your people? And his answer was, we get people to give their lives to Christ, and then we put them in a 3-hour class. We have them choose their ministry, and then, we go looking for the other people.
Kind of like many churches in America do.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a concept they've just never even thought of. Like Fred was saying, they've just been handed this church box that's how everybody does it around them. And so when he went to the discipleship training in Burundi, it was life-changing for him, and not just within his church, but actually in his community. because he goes back and says, well, I'm going to start a small group with other pastors, which at that point in time, they were in competition with each other.
Yeah, it got a little violent at times too.
It did, yeah. I mean, it was, it's a third world country and they're vying for tithes and offerings. And Ronald comes in with this whole different concept of saying like, hey, let's work together. And even like when we do an outdoor crusade, if someone gives their life to Christ and they're closer to your church, then I want them to go to your church. And that was just this new concept. And Ronald, he's a very humble guy. I didn't even know until like a year ago when I'm talking with a pastor, friend of his at a funeral, and he tells me, well, yeah, Ronald's been mentoring me for years. And he said he's the president of our network. And I was like, what network's that? And he says, well, ask Ronald, he's our president. And so I was like, what's he talking about? And Ronald said, oh yeah, that small group, it's grown. And he says, we have about 1,100 pastors now in this network. And they elected me to be their president. But it's changed, and that's just in Western Uganda, but it's changing not just that community, but all.
Yeah. Well, and
the
you just started
out.
showing them how to do life groups and be in relationship, not preaching at people, but doing life with people. And, now you would go over and come back, and you started, you and your wife and people going over all the time. And of course, you didn't follow the eating rules and almost died several times because you're stubborn.
I had some sickness.
Yes. Yeah. But you would go over, and pretty soon, you guys are discipling people, and it's expanding, and the other churches are expanding, and now you're like, okay, we got widows because husbands have died from AIDS, and you got orphans, and you guys came up with ways of reaching into that community. I think one of the things that makes our philosophy unique, and Dave and Janelle really caught onto this, is that a lot of times Americans will go over to whatever country and they'll help in some way. We'll send our money, we'll do whatever, but we don't go through the local churches there. Yeah. So what happens is the church there, the Christian church in whatever country, doesn't get to be the heroes. Yeah. It's the Americans who come in over the top of them and then if they do a crusade or if they do wells or they do whatever, they're the heroes. It's all the money, all the workers come from America. And one of the things we believe is we want to go to a local church there, help them make disciples, help them reach out from their team to their community so that those, and we'll get them started. We stay behind the scenes. They get to be the Lord's heroes in their own country. Right. We're training them to do that, to take care of themselves. So even if we do go in and take money to buy a field, which it was more like you guys as individuals and some others came together to buy a field to give to the widows so that they could grow food, connect the orphans to the widows so that now they have food, and then you create in houses and all this stuff. If we do go in to help monetarily, it's not so that we become sort of the welfare state. Right. We're doing it for them. We help them take this on themselves and then fund it themselves so that if anything ever happens to us, they've become sort of the mechanism, God's church, that gets the glory through those heroes of the faith there. That's what gets us excited. So we're careful that we don't go in and overstep God's people, the local church in their areas.
Yeah, and it's principle driven. It's not. It's what makes the most sense in their context. Because I'm thinking about this, what David Power was alluded to a little bit, I think, in our sermon or message.
Here at Post Falls,
Post Falls, was that they've created 3 specific programs that now he's having them meet, because they're on the border of Mexico, a lot of cartel activity. So they notice that the girls fall prey and the young men fall prey to the cartel, easy money, and they get trapped. And so they have a thing called rescuing girls before they need rescuing. And so the women in the church, but it's the church that's doing it. So the women in the church are investing in these young girls, helping them to see their value is in their relationship with God, that God gives them value. And I met, when we were down there, I met one girl, and she's going to university now, right, to be a dental technician. And when she gave testimony to me that when she first went through this, they had challenged them, like, hey, if you're with a boyfriend or whatever that's not treating you right, it's like, maybe that's not the guy. And she said she was so convicted, she broke up with her boyfriend right away, and she goes, it's the best thing I ever did, right? But then also God told Davis, like, it's not just the girls, right? So they started this program. So every one Saturday a month, they have the guys come together, and they talked about what it means to be a godly man. And they just
to protect women.
Protect women and to value them, yeah.
So often we react to problems, and we can never keep up. And we should react to problems. But if we're proactive as a church, we keep these kids from ever getting near the danger zone. So it's both and, proactive and reactive.
Yeah.
And the church, the local church, gets to do that.
Yeah.
And it's amazing what we get to see. But one of the things that our people hear when these guys come over is, we heard it at our church, our campus. He said, we just didn't understand discipleship. So then we see this relational discipleship, and we really embraced that, and it changed everything. And our people are kind of going, well, relational discipleship, what do you mean by relational discipleship? What is it that they're picking up from our training, but also when they come here? Because our people, so often, it's like a fish thinking about identifying water.
Yeah.
You just live in it. It's just like air. You don't talk about it. It's just everywhere. I think our people don't understand sometimes what we mean by relational discipleship. And so talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. I think it's something that we take for granted. I know I've taken it for granted many times until I get to go somewhere else and experience what I used to experience, right, when I was younger. And it's this culture. We have a culture here at Real Life that it just feels natural just to sit down and talk with somebody and quickly be transparent and vulnerable. And we don't realize how rare that is.
Yeah.
Until you enter into a different church culture that, like, that's really rare, especially when you
and just talk about Bible answers and not about how you're really doing with your life.
Yes, exactly.
Everyone's got their guard up.
Yeah. And I mean, I get part of it, in a third world country, it's like, if you show weakness, somebody can use that against you. But even within their own families, that it's just not natural to them. And so then when they come here, and as you were talking about the host homes, I mean, the people in our church that are hosting are over the top hosting. I mean, we have a pastor, Alfonso, that's here from Mexico, and it's changing everything for him.
Yep.
His host home is changing everything in his mind. He's like, I've never experienced anything like this before. They're just so kind, and they're so open, and that's just a culture.
Not any pretense.
Right? No pretense. No. And that speaks so much louder than any words that we ever get to use. And I know even with like Ronald, if you ask him like, hey, what's the most impactful thing that Paul and Steph ever did for you? It's not anything we ever said. It was that when we go over there, we like to sit down at the dinner table together as a whole family and eat. And then when we left, he was like, I missed that. And so he comes home at lunchtime to have lunch with his wife, which he never did before. He left in the morning and would come home in the evening. And that wasn't anything that we told him, right? And he's like, it's changed my marriage by coming home and just asking my wife, like, hey, how's your day going? And sharing a meal with her.
And then telling her how his day's going.
Yeah. I mean, it's just and we take that for granted. And we, this missions week, having all these people around here, they're seeing it everywhere they go. They went and had lunch with the seniors ministry, and they love the fact that we even create an environment where the seniors can come together and sing hymns because they love the hymns. And and they have lunch together, and they're so open, and they just want to sit down and talk and just be open about, you know, what they struggle with. And you know, they run into people down in the cafe, and it's just this culture of people that want to be real with each other, and we're not trying to hide what we suffer with, but instead we want to share it, because if I can share it, I know that you're actually going to identify with me, instead of thinking that you've got it all figured out
or judge you because of that, right?
Exactly.
You know, you said something a little bit earlier when we were talking about they're trying to reproduce a lot of the life groups. A lot of these churches have groups, but what's the difference?
Yeah, I realized we went down and were part of a life group. We went to the homes and we ended up having a meal, and then we just sat outside and I just tossed a question out there, and we just got talking about it, and you know, and that we a follow-up question, and they were expecting like this teaching, and then they're like, wait a minute, this is group. Like, yeah, this is group. Well, come to find out, what they had been doing was trying to replicate a Sunday service in their group. So the leader, like every week, the leader had to prepare a message, right? On top of working, you know, their fanny off, right? Yeah. The secular, and they would have a song, and they would have someone would bring a spiritual offering or whatever, you know, and you know, a testimony or this, that, and those things are fine, but they were missing the whole point. It was just very rote and very rigid, and it was burdensome. And it was all falling on the leaders. And those leaders right now is their core team. So they're carrying a big load on that church right now. And so David Power and I and Pastor Sam Meredith got to kind of walk them through and see, like, you know.
Well, and here's the problem.
Yeah.
Very few people have the time to be that guy.
Yeah.
Or have the gifting to be that guy.
Right. It's not reproducible.
It's not reproducible. Yeah. So the reason only some of the people really grow and everybody else are consumers is because only a few people can even do it. It's not reproducible. It doesn't catch on in a family, because how if I'm supposed to disciple my kids and I go and you're doing that and that's my example, am I supposed to do a song with my kids and have a message prepared for
Nobody
my kids?
wants that, John.
Yeah, no song. Yeah. Yes, the Word of God. We can. You know, we use orality, we use a Bible story, we use scripture, but it's not just about understanding the idea. It's about, let's be honest about how I'm doing with this truth. Yeah. Let's encourage each other. Let's be honest with each other. We want this to be something all of us are disciples. Not everybody's a teacher, but all is a disciple who can make a disciple. Yeah. And we're trying to unleash something on the community that everybody can participate in, play a part in. And that methodology of reproducing a church service, that doesn't work. No. And it really doesn't unleash your people. They have to live vicariously through somebody else who is a priest or qualified. Yeah. And Jesus qualified the unqualified. Yeah. He was the hero. Yeah. He let regular, everyday, ordinary people do it. Yeah. And they were able to change the world. I mean, here's the deal. You're as ordinary as anybody I've ever met. And you changed the whole country, and you gotta know. You're extraordinary. But you get my point. You were a cabinet, or not a cabinet, a countertop guy. You know, you were in the military, right? A master chief. You guys didn't have the Bible college training, all the stuff, and yet you guys have been used to change the continent of Africa. In your case, you know, you guys are being used around the world, and so are our host homes that people came and stayed at. Yeah, right. So are our coaches. I just think about, you know, Rick, who's working with the leaders in Pakistan. Yeah. Right? Those guys, what they're doing, what they get to be a part of, and this is our slice of history. Yeah. And that's what gets me so excited about our church. Yeah. You know, our church is doing this day in, day out. Yeah. What they're giving to participate in reaching the whole world from Little North Idaho. Yeah.
And Rick's like a HVAC guy. Right?
Yeah, he's an HVAC guy. Yeah. You know, I'm going through all the different guys, you know, the gutter roots, you know,
Forester.
The Forester. Yeah. And Ephesians 4 is really clear that God gave some to be apostles and prophets and evangelists and pastors and teachers to equip the saints for works of service so the body of Christ can be built up.
Yep.
If you're saved for a purpose. God has good works, eternal works for you to do. But, sometimes Christians just want to give money, and we need money or we can't do it.
Yep.
Right? But you're more than just a pocketbook.
Right.
You can be used.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome.
If I can too, Jim, when I first met Ronald, I had only been leading a home group for about 2 months, right? I wasn't by any means an expert or anything, but I talked to him like I would talk to anybody in my group, right? Just asking good questions, and what's this look like in your life? What's this look like in church? And I didn't have all the answers, and I had to go to Dave Campbell many times. Like, I don't know what to say. It was okay for Ronald to ask me a question and be like, I don't know, but let me ask somebody else.
He probably respected you more for that too.
Yeah, probably. And, I never felt like I was in over my head because I loved the guy, right? It was a friendship. And so I didn't really feel this burden. I had no idea where it was going to go. I just knew that I loved this guy, and I wanted to see him be able to experience, God's love like we do here. And even like his first home group, when I got to go over there, it was my third or fourth trip, and I got to go to their first home group, and they had 70 adults and I think as many kids. And and they're meeting outside, and we had to walk through that conversation. And he said, well, every time we start a group, like everybody within walking distance just comes, right? Because they don't have anything else to do. Right. And so, then trying to work through, well, okay, how do we like have a closed group so that you guys can actually get intimate with each other?
And raise up somebody else so that they stay in small groups.
Yes, exactly. So it's just been quite a journey, but I only bring that up because I just think for the people that are watching, that I believed for a long time that I had to get to a certain spot before I could, right? It's that, well, I'm not a spiritual parent, so like I can't.
And that'll always outpace you.
And it's always out of reach. Yeah, exactly. And it's like, no.
Because the more you grow, the more you know you don't know.
Yeah. Right.
So you'll never catch up.
You'll never catch up. And it's like, no, you can engage.
I remember my dad, for me, this all started back when I first got saved. And he's like, I'm bored going to church. He goes, Jim, and I know our folks have heard this story, but people are like a lake. You have water coming in and water coming out. If water's only coming in and no water's coming out, it rises up and floods everything around it. If water's going out and no water's coming in, it dries up. You've had water coming in now, and you need to start pouring out. You need to start serving. And so I'm like, I don't even know what that means, but he goes, you were saved for a purpose. God has good works for you to do. You need to get in the game. So you need to start praying, about where you can serve. So I'm like, okay, if you say that's what I'm supposed to do. So I'm praying, and I go to church the next week, and the senior pastor comes walking up to me and my wife, and he says, hey, it was at Boise State University. It was a church plant. Yeah. And there's maybe 120 people there, and we're some of the youngest people there. And he says, hey, how would you feel about leading a small group with 4 kids? We have 4 youth group kids. You're the closest to their age in the church. Would you consider leading a small group at your married student housing at Boise State? And my answer was no, absolutely not. And I was actually offended. Why? I've only been sober not very long, and you're asking me to lead your kids? Do you
even care about these kids?
This is before background checks, right? But I said no, and I went home and told my dad. I was like, Dad, you will not believe what happened. I cannot believe the gall of these people, right? And I tell him about it, and he goes, Jim, didn't we just start praying that God would show you? And this guy comes walking up to you, and I go, you think I should be working with kids? He goes, well, it sounds like God does.
Oh.
And I go, I don't know half what these kids know. And he goes, Jim, I'm not asking you to lead a group by yourself. I'm asking you to be under authority and be coached, but we'll work on it together. He goes, here's what we'll do. we'll just work on like a little short lesson, and you'll go and we'll work on some questions together. And he was in Missoula at the time. I'm talking to him on the phone.
Oh yeah.
And we'll work on it, and then you'll go and do it, and then I'll send you a little bit of money. You can take them to Dairy Queen. So he started with 4 kids, right? And I take him to Dairy Queen. Next week there was 10 for Dairy Queen, right?
Yeah.
But I remember, I go, but Dad, these kids know more than I know. He goes, Jim, we'll work on it, and here's the deal. If they ask you a question you don't know how to answer, say, I don't know, but I'll know by next week. And we'll talk on the phone, and you'll ask us, and we'll work it through, and you'll go back. And I go, well, what if I think I know and I'm wrong? And he goes, then you go back next week and go, yeah, I went and asked and looked, I was wrong. Here's the right answer. I go, you can do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can do that? You can say you're wrong, and yeah, you're going to learn as we go, and you're going to disciple people as I disciple you. And I was like, wow, okay. When you have to have answers by next week, you read differently.
Yeah.
You study differently. When you have to ask and answer questions, and then you got somebody to call and work with, and that's what we're trying to do in our life group system.
Exactly.
It is.
Yeah.
Right? We're trying to raise up people, help them understand you are part of the holy priesthood, a royal nation, a people belonging to God. You can, and you're supposed to.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to help you do it. And you'll make mistakes.
And we don't need people that hit home runs. We just need people that get on base, right?
Yeah.
That-
You walk.
just
If
take
you
a step.
Walk, it's you're on base.
Just take
okay?
a step.
You get hit by a pitch.
Yeah.
You're on base.
You're on base. Yeah. And that counts.
Yeah, using that, you get enough people hit by pitches, you get them around the bases, right? But I just think, of course, we want people to grow and understand the word. We want them to, that's part of being a mature person in Christ. But we've got to move people from, I go to church on Sunday, the box, reproducing that, to helping people understand wherever you work, live, and play, you're a follower of Jesus, you're abiding in Christ, you're growing in relationship with others.
Yeah.
You have relationships you can bounce things off of that can encourage you. You can be open and honest when you fail. All those things are biblical. They were just lost along the way.
Yeah.
And you know what you guys are doing still to this day? You're leading groups here, you're being Christians, you're helping people do what we do around the world. And it's not rocket science, or we 3 couldn't pull it off. Right? But we can do this. And God's doing it through people here. And I pray that this continues. I'm so blessed. I think people know I'm excited. As much as I like to give hard time to Paul and
He deserves it, though.
brag about him so that he gets uncomfortable, I do get excited about doing the things that God asks us to do. Yes, there's a weekend service. There's a purpose for that.
Yeah.
But the early church met in the temple courts, big service from house to house daily. Ordinary, unschooled people, they were called. Jesus chose regular people because they were never supposed to be the hero.
Yeah.
Their stories of jacking the whole thing up in the Gospels are there on purpose.
Yeah.
To say he uses people who make mistakes and then point to Jesus and rely on Christ. So I'm excited about this team. I'm excited about you guys. I love your wives. They are saints. And your kids. And I love our volunteer team that's doing this. And I just have so much love for Dave and Janelle Campbell and the whole team over the years. And I look forward to this next season. And
Us too.
Yeah, we do.
All right. Well, Real Life Ministries, next week we start a series called Greater Than, and we're looking into the book of Hebrews, and we put together on the app under the Abide tab a place for you to do a Bible reading plan in the book of Hebrews that follows along with what we're doing in this next series. And we hope that you're going to get anchored, rooted. You're going to go through the book of Hebrews series with us. And of course, next week we'll be back with our Overtime podcast on the first message in the book of Hebrews. And so look forward to seeing you next week. God bless you and take care.